My parents said, "Take your mistake and leave." Then they pushed me and my 5-year-old daughter Bonnie outside. It was snowing hard. We had nothing. 3 hours later, there was a knock, and their faces turned white. My name is Sheila Norton. I was 25. I had a 5-year-old daughter, and I was living in my parents' house in Seattle like I was still 16. The rules were simple. Be quiet. Be grateful. Be invisible. I followed them. Every day. Until one night I didn't. Bonnie couldn't sleep. She never could. When the wind howled like that, she came to the kitchen in her socks, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." I poured her a small cup of milk. The light was dim. I thought no one would notice. I was wrong. The cup slipped from her little hands. Milk hit the floor. Not a flood. Just a small white puddle. But it might as well have been blood. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. My dad first. Then my mom. Then my brother Grover. All three of them stood in the doorway staring at the spill like it was proof of something bigger. Dad's voice was low. "We are done raising your mistake. Get out. And never come back." I blinked. "Dad, it's just milk. It's late. It's snowing." He didn't answer. He just walked to the hook where my keys hung, twisted my house key off the ring, dropped the rest on the counter like trash. Mom grabbed Bonnie's coat and shoved it at me. "Take it. Both of you. Out." Grover crossed his arms. "You heard him. Go." Bonnie started crying. I tried to pick her up. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped her. Dad opened the front door. Cold rushed in. Snow blew sideways across the porch. He pushed us through. Not hard. Just enough to make it clear we weren't welcome back. The door shut. The lock clicked. I stood on the porch holding Bonnie. She buried her face in my neck. "Mommy, why are they mad at me?" "They're not mad at you," I whispered. "They're mad at everything. But never at you." We had nowhere to go. My car was in the driveway. One bag of clothes. One phone with 20% battery. No money. No plan. I buckled Bonnie into the back seat. Started the engine. The heater blew cold air at first. I pulled out slowly. The road was ice. Snow kept falling. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew we couldn't stay there. 3 hours later there was a knock on their front door. Opal Yates stood on the porch. Snow clung to her coat. She had driven through the storm after I texted her one line, "They kicked us out." She didn't ask questions on the phone. She just said, "Stay in the car with the heat on." "I'm coming." She banged again. Louder. Dad opened the door. I wasn't there to see it. I was parked 2 blocks away trying to keep Bonnie warm. But Opal told me later. Dad's face went pale when he saw her. He tried to shut the door. She put her foot in the gap. "Where are they?" she asked. He said it wasn't their problem anymore. She told him the police were already on the way. Child endangerment in a blizzard. Abandonment. He slammed the door. She called 911 right there on the porch. The patrol car arrived 20 minutes later. Lights flashing through the snow. 2 officers knocked. Dad opened again. This time he looked smaller. They asked questions. He said we left on our own. They asked for proof. He had none. Opal showed them my text. The timestamp. The words. They took his statement. Then they came to my car. One officer knelt by the back window. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Bonnie was asleep against my shoulder. I nodded. "We're cold. That's all." He radioed for a warming center. But Opal spoke up. She knows someone who can take them tonight. A professor. Safe place. The officer looked at me. "You trust her?" I said yes. Opal had been my friend since high school. She never judged. She just showed up. They let us go with her. No charges yet. But they said they would follow up. Opal drove us to downtown Seattle. Her heater finally worked. Bonnie woke up once. Asked if we were going home. I said we were going somewhere safe. She went back to sleep. Dr. Irma Wade met us at her building. She lived in a quiet apartment above a bookstore. She opened the door in a robe. No surprise on her face. Opal had called ahead. She looked at Bonnie first, then at me. "Come in," she said. "You're both freezing." She gave Bonnie a blanket and hot chocolate. Gave me tea. Sat us on the couch. Didn't ask for the whole story right away. Just let us breathe. Bonnie fell asleep again on my lap. "Doctor." Wade covered her with another blanket. Then she looked at me. You can stay as long as you need. No rent. No timeline. I started to protest. She raised a hand. I've been alone in this place for years. It's too quiet. You two will be good for it. I didn't argue. I was too tired. She showed me the spare room. 2 beds. Clean sheets. A lamp. A window that looked out on the snowy street. I put Bonnie down first. Tucked her in. Kissed her forehead. Then I sat on the other bed. Doctor. Wade stood in the doorway. Tomorrow we'll figure out the next steps. GED. Job. Whatever you need. But tonight you rest. I nodded. Thank you. She smiled. Small. Tired. You're welcome. Then she closed the door softly. I lay down fully clothed. Stared at the ceiling. The storm was still howling outside. But inside it was quiet. For the first time in years, the quiet didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a beginning. Bonnie breathed evenly beside me. I closed my eyes. And for a few hours, I let myself believe we might actually be okay. The next morning, the snow had stopped. Sunlight came through the window in thin, pale lines. Bonnie woke up first. She sat up in the bed and looked around like she wasn't sure the room was real. Mommy, is this our house now? I pulled her close. It's a safe place for a while. She nodded. Didn't push. She was already learning not to ask too many questions. Dr. Irma Wade was in the kitchen when we came out. She had coffee going. Toast on the table. Orange juice in small glasses. Bonnie climbed onto a stool. Dr. Wade smiled at her. You like pancakes? Bonnie nodded fast. Doctor. Wade flipped 2 more on the griddle. I stood there, feeling like I was watching someone else's life. We ate quietly. Bonnie talked about her favorite cartoon. Dr. Wade listened like it was the most important thing she'd heard all week. When the plates were clear, she looked at me. I called a friend at the community center. They have a GED program. Classes 3 nights a week. Childcare included. You can start Monday. I stared at her. I have a job. I can't just. You work days, she said. This is nights. You can do both. I'll watch Bonnie when you need me to. I opened my mouth to argue. Then closed it. She wasn't asking permission. She was stating facts. I looked at Bonnie licking syrup off her fingers. Then back at Dr. Wade. Why are you doing this? She poured more coffee. Because I can. And because someone should have done it for me a long time ago. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded. The first GED class was that Monday. I left work early, dropped Bonnie at the center's playroom, sat in a room with 8 other adults. Some younger, some older, all of us trying to catch up on something we'd lost. The teacher handed out books. Math, reading, science. I opened the math one and felt my stomach drop. I hadn't touched algebra since high school. And I hadn't finished high school. I came home late. Bonnie was asleep on the couch. Dr. Wade was reading beside her. She looked up. How was it? Hard, I said. But I'm going back. She smiled. Small. Real. Good. The next week, my brother Grover called. I saw his name on the screen and almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice was quiet. Sheila. I'm sorry. I should have stopped them. I was scared. I didn't want to lose my room. My car. Everything. I didn't say anything. I can help, he said. Money. A place. Whatever you need. I looked at Bonnie sleeping. Then at the GED book on the table. I don't need your help, I said. Not anymore. Sheila. Don't call again. I hung up. Blocked the number. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. From relief. I didn't owe him anything. Not an explanation. Not forgiveness. Nothing. Dr. Wade didn't ask who called. She just handed me a highlighter. You left this in the kitchen. You'll need it for the science section. I took it. Sat down. Opened the book. Started reading. Bonnie woke up once that night. Came into my room. Climbed under the covers. Mommy, are we staying here forever? I kissed her hair. We're staying until we're ready to go. And when we go together, okay? Okay. She fell back asleep. I stayed awake a little longer. Staring at the ceiling. Thinking about the house I grew up in. The rules. The silence. The way they looked at Bonnie like she was a problem to solve. I thought about Grover's call. about Dad twisting the key off my ring, about Mom shoving the coat at me. Then I thought about the next class, the test I had to pass, the job I had to keep, the life I had to build. I turned off the lamp, closed my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, the dark didn't feel heavy. It felt like space. Space to start over. Space to become someone they could never take away. A year into studying the GED felt less like a mountain and more like a staircase. Step by step. Some nights I wanted to quit. Not because the work was impossible, because it reminded me how much time I'd lost. How much they'd taken without ever saying sorry. Community college came next. I enrolled part-time. 2 classes. 1 in the morning before work. 1 in the evening after Bonnie's bedtime. The campus was small. Brick buildings. Trees that dropped yellow leaves everywhere. I walked through it feeling like an intruder. Everyone else looked younger. Freer. They had dorms. Parents who paid tuition. I had a daughter who needed dinner and a mentor who watched her when I couldn't. Money got tight fast. My paycheck from the office job barely covered groceries. Gas. Bonnie's shoes. Dr. Wade never asked for rent. But I still felt the weight. Every bill I paid felt like proof I wasn't failing her. Every bill I couldn't pay felt like proof I was. Opal helped when she could. She picked Bonnie up from the center some afternoons, brought snacks, sat with her while I studied at the library. One night she came over with takeout. Chinese, Bonnie's favorite. We ate on the couch. Bonnie fell asleep between us. Opal looked at me. You know your parents tried to sell the old house? I froze. Fork halfway to my mouth. What? Real estate listing popped up online. I saw it. Your name was on the title. They listed it without your signature. I checked the county records. Fraudulent transfer attempt. My stomach turned. They can't do that. It was in my name. Gary left it to me. They tried, she said. The sale fell through. Buyer backed out when the title search showed inconsistencies. But they're still pushing. I have a friend who's a paralegal. She can look deeper. If you want. I looked at Bonnie sleeping. Then at the GED certificate framed on the wall. Dr. Wade had hung it there the day I passed. I said. I want everything they tried to take. The next week, Opal brought the paralegal over. A woman named Maria. Quiet. Sharp. She spread papers on the table. Showed me emails. Forged signatures. Bank transfers attempted. My parents had used an old power of attorney they claimed I signed years ago. It was fake. The notary stamp was real. But the date was wrong. Maria looked at me. This is fraud. Clear. You can file a civil suit. Quiet title action. Maybe even criminal referral if the DA bites. But it will take time. And money. I didn't have money. But I had proof. And I had anger that had finally found a shape. Not the hot kind. The cold kind. The kind that lasts. Dr. Wade sat with us. She didn't speak much. Just listened. When Maria left, she turned to me. You don't have to do this alone. The university has legal aid for students. I can make the call. I nodded. Call them. She did. The next day I met with a law student supervised by a professor. They took the case pro bono. Said it was strong. Said we could freeze the assets. Demand an accounting. Push for damages. I went home that night and sat on the couch with Bonnie. She was coloring. A picture of a house. With 3 people. Me. Her. And Dr. Wade. No one else. I kissed the top of her head. We're going to be okay. I told her. She looked up. I know, Mommy. We already are. I smiled. Small. Real. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the court forms, and started filling them out. 1 line at a time. 1 truth at a time. They thought they could erase us. They were wrong. 2 years later, the campus felt less like a foreign country and more like a place I belonged. I walked the paths with a backpack that had Bonnie's drawings taped inside the flap. She was 7 now. She still asked questions. But they were different. Not why did they hate us anymore. More like, can we get ice cream after your class? I transferred to the state university. Full load. 3 days a week. The rest I worked remote from Dr. Wade's kitchen table. Bonnie did homework beside me. Colored. Asked me to check her spelling. Sometimes she read aloud from her books while I typed papers. It felt normal. Not perfect. Just normal. I started a small group for student parents. Nothing official at first. Just a chat on my phone. Moms and dads sharing notes, trading babysitting, posting links to free tutoring. It grew. 10 people. Then 20. Then the university noticed. They gave us a room in the student center. One afternoon a week. Coffee. Snacks. A whiteboard. Dr. Wade came to the first official meeting. She didn't speak. She just sat in the back and listened. When it ended, she told me, "You built something real here." I didn't feel like I built anything. I felt like I was holding on. But holding on was enough. Then Grover called again. Different number. I almost blocked it. But I answered. His voice was different. Not defensive. Tired. "Sheila," he said. "I need to talk to you." I waited. I found out what Dad and Mom did with the house. The title. The power of attorney. I didn't know the details. I swear. But I knew they were trying to sell. I looked at the records. It's fraud. I have screenshots. Emails. I'll send them to you. Or to a lawyer. Whatever you need. I didn't speak right away. Bonnie was in the other room practicing her spelling words. I could hear her voice through the wall. Steady. Sure. Why now? I asked. Because I have a daughter too, he said. She's 2. And every time I look at her I think about Bonnie. About what we did. I can't fix it. But I can stop lying about it. I closed my eyes. Send the files. He did. That night. A folder full of proof. Forged documents. Backdated signatures. Emails to a realtor. Bank statements showing attempts to move money. I forwarded everything to Maria. The paralegal Opal had brought in. She called me the next day. "This is enough for a motion to freeze assets," she said. "We can file tomorrow. Quiet title. Damages. Criminal referral if you want it." I looked at the framed GED certificate on the wall. Then at the university ID on my lanyard. Then at Bonnie's drawing of our little family. Me, her, Dr. Wade, Opal. 4 people. No one else. File it, I said. The court issued the freeze order within the week. No more selling. No more transfers. The house stayed locked in title dispute. Their bank accounts flagged. Dad's retirement fund. Mom's savings. Grover's car loan, everything paused. Dr. Wade read the court papers with me. She didn't smile. She just nodded once. "You're doing what you have to do." Bonnie came in from the living room. "Mommy, is it over?" I pulled her onto my lap. "Not yet," I said. "But we're closer." She hugged me tight. "Good. Because I like it here." I kissed her forehead. "Me too." The papers were filed. The freeze was in place. And for the first time since that night in the snow, I felt the ground under me again. Not steady yet, but solid enough to keep walking. One step, then another, toward whatever came next. At the court in King County, the hallway smelled like coffee and old paper. I sat on a bench outside the hearing room. Bonnie stayed home with Opal. I didn't want her anywhere near this. Dr. Wade came with me. She sat beside me. Didn't talk much. Just stayed. The bailiff called us in. The room was small. Wood paneling. A long table. Dad and Mom sat on one side. Grover beside them. He looked down at his hands. Maria had already filed the motion. The judge, a woman in her 50s with short gray hair, read the summary. Quiet title action. Fraudulent transfer. Forgery. Damages. Dad spoke first. "This is a family matter. We thought we were helping. Sheila was struggling. We tried to protect the property." The judge looked at him. "Protect it by forging her signature?" Dad swallowed. "It wasn't like that." Maria stood. "Your Honor, we have the original power of attorney. The date is backdated 3 years. The notary has already admitted under oath he never saw Sheila sign it. He was paid by the defendants." The notary, a thin man in a cheap suit, sat at the end of the table. He nodded when Maria looked at him. "I notarized it," he said. "Denise. The mother brought it to me. Said it was urgent. I didn't see the principal. I shouldn't have done it." Grover shifted. "I have the emails," he said quietly. "From Dad to the realtor. They plan to sell before the title cleared. I have bank records showing the transfer attempt." Dad's face went red. "Grover, don't." Grover looked at him. "I already did." Then to the judge. "I helped them. I drove to the bank with them. I knew it was wrong. I'm sorry." Mom started crying. Soft. Controlled. Like she'd practiced it. The judge looked at Maria. You have evidence of intent? Maria slid a folder forward. Emails, texts, bank logs, the notary's statement, the forged power of attorney. It's all here. Dad tried again. We were protecting the family. Sheila was young. She had a child. We thought. The judge cut him off. You thought you could take her property without her consent. That's not protection. That's theft. Silence. Heavy. Real. The judge turned to me. Miss Norton, do you have anything to add? I looked at Dad. At Mom. At Grover. Then at the judge. They locked us out in a blizzard. Called my daughter a mistake. Tried to sell the house my late husband left me. I don't want their money. I want my name back on the title. And I want them to know they can't do this to anyone else. The judge nodded. The motion is granted. Title reverts to Sheila Norton. All transfers nullified. Assets frozen pending final judgment. Referral to the DA for criminal review on forgery and fraud. Dad's shoulders dropped. Mom covered her face. Grover stared at the table. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. Someone had tipped them off. Cameras. Microphones. Miss Norton, comment on the hearing? I shook my head. No comment. But the story ran anyway. Local news. Online. Seattle family accused of forging documents to steal daughter's home. Photos of the house. The courthouse. My name. Bonnie's name kept out. But the details were there. The blizzard. The eviction. The fraud. Dad stopped answering calls. Mom sent one text. We're sorry. I didn't reply. Grover called once more. I'm testifying at the trial. Whatever they need. I didn't thank him. I just said, good. Dr. Wade drove me home. Didn't speak. Just let the quiet sit between us. Bonnie met us at the door. Mommy, did you win? I knelt down. We're getting closer. She hugged me. Tight. I knew you would. I held her. Felt the weight of everything lift just a little. The media kept running the story. Neighbors talked. Old friends texted. The house stayed empty. No sale. No transfer. Just a frozen reminder of what they tried to do. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. Months after the hearing, the trial finally started in King County. The courtroom was larger than the hearing room. More seats. More eyes. I sat in the front row with Maria. Dr. Wade sat behind me. Opal took Bonnie to the park. I didn't want her hearing any of this. The prosecutor called witnesses. Maria first. She walked through the documents. The forged power of attorney. The backdated notary stamp. The emails to the realtor. The bank attempts. She spoke clearly. No emotion. Just facts. The jury listened. Then Grover took the stand. He looked different. Not the angry kid who stood in the kitchen doorway. He looked older. Tired. He answered every question. Yes, he drove to the bank. Yes, he knew the signature was fake. Yes, he stayed silent too long. The prosecutor asked why he came forward now. Grover looked at the jury. Because I have a daughter. And I can't look at her knowing I helped hurt my niece. Mom cried quietly in the back row. Dad stared straight ahead. No tears. No apology. The defense tried to paint it as a misunderstanding. Family protecting assets. Sheila unstable. But the evidence was too heavy. The notary's plea deal. The screenshots. The timeline. It all fit together too cleanly. Closing arguments came fast. The prosecutor spoke last. This is not about family disagreement. This is about theft. About erasing someone's name from her own home. About leaving a mother and child in a blizzard. The law exists for moments like this. The jury went out. We waited in the hallway. Dr. Wade brought coffee. Opal texted updates about Bonnie. Hours passed. Then the bailiff called us back. The foreman stood. On the charge of forgery of documents, we find the defendants guilty. On conspiracy to commit fraud, guilty. On attempted unlawful transfer of property, guilty. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. No bail change. They were taken out in cuffs. Dad didn't look at me. Mom did. Just once. Her eyes were red. I looked away. Sentencing day came. The courtroom was quiet. The judge spoke slowly. Grover received 5 years probation, full cooperation, restitution, Community service. Mom and Dad each got 10 years. Eligible for parole after 6. The house was ordered returned to my name. All assets frozen until restitution paid. Damages awarded. $20,000. Dad's retirement gone. Mom's savings seized. Their house foreclosed. Grover lost his job. His car repossessed. Friends stopped calling. The neighborhood talked. The story stayed in the papers for weeks. I didn't go to the prison intake. Didn't visit. Didn't answer the letters Mom sent. One from Dad. One from Grover. I read them once. Then shredded them. Dr. Wade asked me once if I regretted it. I said no. Regret would mean I still cared what they thought. I didn't. Bonnie asked about them sometimes. Do Grandma and Grandpa miss us? I told her the truth. They made choices. We made ours. And our choice is to be happy. She hugged me. I like happy. I hugged her back. Tight. Me too. The house sold eventually. I used the money for Bonnie's college fund. For therapy. For a small place of our own. Nothing big. Just ours. I never spoke to them again. No calls. No holidays. No what-ifs. The door closed. Locked. I turned the key myself. And walked forward. With Bonnie. With Dr. Wade. With Opal. With the life we built. Not perfect. But real. And mine. A year after the trial, the house in Seattle sold. The money went straight into Bonnie's college fund. The rest I used for therapy. For a down payment on a small place of our own. 2 bedrooms. A tiny yard. Nothing fancy. Just enough space for us to breathe. Bonnie was 8 now. She still asked about them sometimes. Not often. Just when she saw other kids with grandparents at school events. Do Grandma and Grandpa ever think about us? I always answered the same way. They made their choices. We made ours. And ours is to be happy. She nodded. Didn't push. She was learning that some questions didn't need answers. Some doors didn't need opening. Dr. Wade came over every Sunday. She brought groceries. Helped Bonnie with homework. Taught her how to bake cookies. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and laughter. Opal stopped by too. She brought board games. Movies. Stories about her day. We built a routine. Quiet. Steady. Ours. The university asked me to speak at orientation. Not a big speech. Just a panel for new student parents. I said yes. I talked about the blizzard. The locked door. The forged papers. The trial. I didn't name them. Didn't need to. The story carried itself. Afterward, a young mom came up to me. She had a toddler on her hip. Tears in her eyes. I thought I was alone, she said. Hearing you. It makes me think maybe I can do this too. I hugged her. Told her she could. Told her to call the support group. Told her she wasn't a mistake. Her child wasn't a mistake. None of us were. Dad tried to reach out once. A letter. Handwritten. Said they were sorry. Said they lost everything. Said they missed us. I read it in the kitchen while Bonnie colored at the table. Then I folded it. Put it in the shredder. Watched the pieces fall. Mom called a few months later. Blocked number. I answered anyway. Her voice was small. Sheila, we're in a shelter. We have nothing left. Can you help? I listened. Didn't interrupt. When she finished, I said, you had choices. You chose to lock us out. You chose to forge papers. You chose to call my daughter a mistake. Now you live with those choices. She started crying. I didn't. I just hung up. Blocked the number. Felt nothing. Not anger. Not pity. Just done. Grover sent one text. I'm moving out of state. I got a job. I'm trying to be better. For my daughter? For Bonnie. If you ever want to talk. I didn't reply. Didn't block him. Just left it unread. Some bridges burn clean. Some smolder. His could stay smoldering. I wasn't going back to put it out. Bonnie graduated elementary school that spring. She wore a blue dress Opal bought her. Dr. Wade took photos. We went out for ice cream after. Bonnie ordered chocolate with sprinkles. She ate it slowly. Like she was savoring more than the ice cream. Mommy, she said. I'm proud of you. I looked at her. I'm proud of you too. She smiled. Big. Real. We're a good team. We were. The house we bought had a small garden. I planted roses. The same kind my late husband used to grow. Bonnie helped water them. She named them after her favorite books. Rose Potter, Rose Hobbit, Rose Narnia. Dr. Wade came over one evening, sat on the porch with me, watched Bonnie chase fireflies in the yard. She didn't say much, just sipped tea. Then she looked at me. "You did it," she said. I shook my head. "We did it." She smiled. Small, tired, proud. I looked at Bonnie, at the roses, at the life we built from nothing. No perfect ending, no fairy tale. Just us, choosing each day to keep going, to keep choosing each other. True family is choice, not blood. Justice comes from strength and law, not revenge, not forgiveness forced, but from standing up, from speaking the truth, from refusing to disappear. If someone ever called you or your child a mistake, know this: they were wrong. You are not a mistake. You are a beginning, and beginnings can outlast anything. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If Sheila and Bonnie's story moved you, if it reminded you that resilience and truth can overcome even the deepest betrayal, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now I'm listening. Have you ever had to rebuild after someone you trusted let you down? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone.